Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I would like to hand over to Mr. Vivek Pandey, who will take you forward. Vivek, can you please address the audience?
Hi, very good afternoon, everyone. Myself is Vivek Pandey, and I am from Data Cipher. It is my privilege to introduce myself and Juniper team for this particular session. And to brief about Data Cipher, obviously we are into one of the leading system integrator and elite partner of Juniper, and we would like to have this session for you guys. And you can ask the question as and when required. You can interrupt us. We would like to have this interactive session basically, and this is going to be the upcoming technology where Juniper will take you to the complete solution desk, and definitely we look forward to hear you from to have this productive session. Thanks, Vinod, and thanks for the all members joining this particular session. Over to you, Vinod. You can take this ahead from here.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you for that introduction. I hope I'm audible and
Yes.
my screen
Yeah,
is
we can hear
visible to
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so today's session, my name is Vinod. I'm a senior sales engineer from Juniper Networks, and I'm going to take you through the session on experience the AI-driven enterprise, right? The plan is to, let me quickly cover the agenda here. The plan is to cover what is experience first networking first and why Juniper's AID solution, AID stands for Artificial Intelligence Driven Enterprise Solution, uh, plays a key role in bringing this experience first networking and how it can simplify the operations today, followed by a quick demo, maybe for 15 minutes, and if time permits, we can extend a little more on that based on your interest. And then we wind up this session. So without further delay, let me get into the first topic, which is the experience first networking, right? So what is this experience first networking and why do we have to talk about this at this time, right? Traditionally, networks have been there to connect people to the devices or connect people to the applications, right? As you see in this picture also, you can see the devices and users are primarily trying to connect to various applications in the cloud or could be in your data center, right? That's the prime objective of any network today. But traditional networks today does not have so much intelligence inbuilt. They do have a lot of data available. You would have heard about SNMPs. Now the latest ones are telemetry information. You have a humongous amount of data which is available today with us. But unfortunately, humans cannot make use of these data and come out with useful information with which they can take some uh, right actions based on that, because the data is too much, and as a human we won't be able to process so much amount of data, although we do have the intelligence to get the right solution for that. Now this is where artificial intelligence plays a key role here. Now why do we need to bring artificial experience and other stuffs? Because it's not about just connecting your devices to the applications anymore, right? Because it's about user experience. There's a term which is coined now, which is experience is the new uptime. Just by having some devices which are running and which are showing green in color doesn't mean your network is up and running and things are pretty good with that, right? So it's important to know that whether your users are experiencing it in the right way. Let me give you an example. How many of you use your Wi-Fi at home? I'm sure 100% of the people who are now logged in also would be uh, logging in through your Wi-Fi solutions. Now, suddenly when there is a voice cracking or you're not able to hear me, or even if a video is blurred or the PPT's presentation is blurred, the immediate thing that you see is you look at your modem or things like that, and it does not give you any indication. It's just this one green light which is just glowing, right, and just says your network is fine. But actually, your user experience is really bad here because you're not able to listen to me properly or not able to see the things here. What if we have a mechanism, and let's say even if your IT operators log into your devices, let's say it's a corporate Wi-Fi solution or a corporate switching solution, someone logs into the device and looks at it, they have to go through so many logs, right? By the time they go through these logs, the call would have got over, right? And they won't be able to immediately react to your complaint and solve the issues. This way your user experience is impacted badly. Now this is where artificial intelligence and machine learning plays a key role, because the artificial and machine learning together can consume a lot of data that comes from this wireless, wired, as well as other technology solutions which are part of your campus networks, collect these data and would be able to provide a meaningful information to the network operators here, right? So you can see that in this presentation, you can see we have the wireless, we have wired, then SD-WAN data center, then the apps that are being connected or where we consume that, right? Now, what Juniper has done is, after our acquisition of Mist in 2019, we just got this artificial intelligence capability not only on the wireless, which used to be there with Mist, but these capabilities are now spread across our wireless, our wired, as well as our WAN and the secure router and the SD-WAN portfolio now, which means that now under a single umbrella, you'll be able to manage, not only manage, but consume a lot of information from your wireless, wired, and your CP or WAN devices, and correlate them and provide meaningful information based on which the operators can take the necessary actions here. Now, why is it really necessary for us to combine these things together? Because it cannot happen all of a sudden where you're able to get a cohesive solution based on this. Why is that we are really doing this? First, we need to understand that when we have a correlation of wireless, wired, and WAN, and when we are able to correlate and have take a cohesive action based on what is really happening in your network. Today, if you see large organizations, they have different teams for wireless, different teams for wired, different teams for WAN, and let's say when there's some issue, each engineer has to get into their respective domains. Like someone has to manage the wireless portfolio, look into what is the issue with this particular user, or someone has to manage the wired part of it. In case of smaller organizations, you'll have just one or two folks who manage the entire end-to-end solution, right? Bigger or smaller, the time taken to ideally resolve the issue, and there's also something called mean time to innocence, to really know, is it your wireless which is causing the issue, or is it your wired which is causing the issue, or is it your WAN or the branch router or your internet which is causing the issue, right? The mean time to innocence to really identify which is really causing this issue is becoming a big challenge these days. And with the number of devices going up, right, because we are not just talking about the time where one person, one employee had one device, right? We are talking about one employee having three devices. Could be his laptop, could be his desktop, his mobile phone. He might also have his Apple Watch, where some of the companies allow them to connect to the guest Wi-Fi. So there might be n number of devices just under one user, and this is just specific to user. If you take the non-user based devices like your IoT, your video surveillance cameras, the IoT systems, the various sensors that we talk about, they all are now driving through the same networking backbone. That means there is a high number of increase in the number of devices that we use day in and day out, and we need to ensure that these devices, we need to have a clear visibility of what these devices are doing in this network, and we need to take a proactive action before something could go wrong here. Let me give you an example here. Now, if you take a campus network or even a branch network, and if you're going through a video call, and suddenly you see that there's a bad video experience one of the user is experiencing right now. Now, this could be because of various factors in your network, because this particular user, Bob, is connected over a Wi-Fi network. Whether it could be a Wi-Fi issue, is it a coverage issue, is he having a throughput issue, we don't know, right? And from Wi-Fi, it connects to a wired network for sure. Is it a bad cable that he's having? Is it missing a VLAN in that network? We don't know, right? Now, typically in a traditional network, what happens is respective team works on this and they try to find a solution to resolve this. Now, it just does not stop there, right? You have a wireless, you have a wired angle, then you don't know whether it's a issue at the cloud level or at the server level. We don't know it's a client level issue, whether the client is not able to authenticate because of some certificate issue, or if it is a WAN issue. In this case, it was a WAN issue, but multiple team, or even if it is a single team, they had to work on various devices to really identify where exactly the issue was here. And in this scenario, it was the WAN issue where there was not enough bandwidth, or maybe there is a high latency which was really causing this particular issue here, right? So how will we optimize the end user experience here? Now, this is where the artificial intelligence and the machine learning algorithm and the way we cohesively correlate the wireless information that we receive, the Wi-Fi information that we receive, the WAN router information that we receive, we correlate all these information together and give a meaningful information to the IT operators, saying that this particular user is facing this issue is because of the WAN latency or WAN throughput, or his connections are getting dropped. The system is now able to pinpoint and say that where exactly the issue is, rather than giving some options where these could be the options. Now you go try and figure out what could be the issue, right? So this is where artificial intelligence, machine learning based algorithms really help us. And this is what AIDE is all about. Deploying AI machine learning into your wireless, wired, and WAN networks to provide a meaningful network which you can operate in a much seamless way. And before even a user could come and complain to you, you can be proactively manage the network, identify the issues, and resolve these issues before they could reach out to you, right? If you look at the disruption that this AID has done in this market, I mean, it's a huge disruption, because traditionally networks have been like architectures. We have been talking about architectures, we have been talking about speeds and feeds. But this, what this disruption has done is it actually changed the complete the way we look at networks today, right? Today, these are three fundamental pillars which helps us to position our solution to customer, and which has really disrupted our market, which is the Wi-Fi switching and uh, wireless switching, as well as the WAN routing market here. The first pillar here is the architecture. Now, why is it important that we talk about architecture here? Because architecture is a key role, plays a key role here in providing such a huge, scalable, agile solution. The MIST AID based Juniper solution is based on an architecture called microservices architecture. I'm sure many of you would have heard about this architecture. Microservices architecture is nothing but, you have in a simple way, if you need to put it, there are various services which will run as independent services. And if you want to bring up or bring down a services, it's not going to impact the other services as well as your end user experience. That means if I'm using a wireless RRM kind of services, let's say at the back end, if the RRM service is going down, you can bring new RRM services can come up easily without having any impact to the user experiences here, right? Every functionality, every service is running independently here. It's like when you watch these OTT platforms, you seamlessly watch all these programs. At the back end, you don't even know what movies are getting added, what movies are getting deleted. You seamlessly watch the programs of your choice, and you don't get a downtime message or outage window message saying like Netflix is bringing down the network because we are adding some movies or we are deleting some movies. It's a simple analogy like that, where whatever that happens in your cloud network, it's completely transparent and does not have any impact to the production network here, which is very key, because we dare our competition today to provide a weekly pushes with no downtime. Because whenever there is a new feature that comes in the MIST platforms, every alternate Wednesdays we release these new features. And when we release these new features, when we release these fixes, if there is any vulnerability which comes to your wireless or wired network or some management related stuffs, those vulnerability, the fixes for those comes quickly, because one, it is modern cloud based. Second, it is deployed in a much faster way, because there is no impact to the production network at all, because whatever is happening at the cloud level, the end users are not getting impact, but they get benefited by with the new features which gets added every alternate weeks. So this is something which other vendors are not able to do, because one, the architecture is the key here. Other important thing is 100% programmable solution, where today many of our vendors who use our Mist platform are able to integrate their own tools into this. They can integrate their ServiceNow tools, if they have their some other ticketing tools, or if they have some other kind of data mining tools where they want to extract data about the location of the users. They can extract the data using our APIs, and they can use it in their own tools. It's 100% programmable. It's completely API first. Now, the second important pillar, which has really disrupted the market, is the AI operations. Now, I will spend more time on the demonstration rather than explaining it in the slide, because when I demonstrate it, you'll be able to easily relate what I'm talking about. But just to give you a high level view, we were talking about user experiences. But when we talk about user experiences, how do I really measure a user experience? Is there a way to measure a user experience? If it is a bandwidth, I know this is the bandwidth, this is the throughput I get from a specific end client, endpoint, and things like that. But or certain technical measures, there are ways to measure. But how do you really measure a user's experience? Now, this is where we brought in or introduced a new concept called service levels or service level expectations. Right? In a wireless world, if I'm entering into a campus and if I'm able to connect within 2 seconds, my experience is good. But the same user, if he's able to connect to his wireless network after 2-3 minutes or even 5 minutes, that means his experience is bad, right? Because ideally, if I need to connect, it should happen in seconds. That means there's something wrong at the back end, and we need to really fix that. Now, this is what we measure in the service levels, which I will show you in the demonstration. Similarly, in the wired network, if I'm having a bad video, how do I my user experience is bad, so we measure it through using throughput and stuff like that. And it not just measures the SLEs, that is service levels, but it also helps us to find the root cause of the issue. If my video is bad, what is really happening in my switching environment which is causing this video to go bad? Maybe there's a storm control algorithm, maybe there's a latency, maybe the CPU is high in the switch. All the root cause analysis is there given in just one single dashboard, so that you don't have to go and log into each and every switch, download the log files, look into each of the codes, because the log files are not like user readable files which is in some plain English, right? These are some log files where you need to refer to the codes, what it really means. So we are completely avoiding those and making your IT look like as if you're working with an Android phone, or you're working with a iPhone, where whatever you want to achieve, you just go to different menus and you're able to see what you want to see, right? What you want to achieve also. And then we have the AI ops and support, which is a virtual assistant. Again, I wanted to spend time on this in the demonstration rather than explaining it here. We have an AI driven virtual assistant called Marvis, which is just like your Alexa for uh, your Amazon Echo device, OK Google for your Android device, or an Siri for an Apple device, right? Where how do you interact with these devices using this assistant, right? Although without these, you can still work on these devices, but these virtual assistants helps you to make your life's much simpler and easier to interact with these. You can take the same analogy here, where Marvis is your virtual assistant, which can help you. It's like another resident engineer from Juniper who's sitting next to you, where you're just asking him what is happening in my network, what is the issue. It's like you're not about talking, it's about typing basically. That's a major differentiation here. with the analogy that I gave, where you can type in your questions in simple plain language and it'll respond to you. Now, this disruption in the wireless and wired market is what had taken us to this height of achieving this leaders position in the Gartner's Magic Quadrant. And this is the second consecutive year we are a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant here. You can clearly see that in this Magic Quadrant, we are even within the leaders quadrant, we are at the top compared to other vendors here, where it clearly shows the ability to execute as well as with respect to completeness of vision. We are kind of far ahead of other vendors here. And all this is possible. It's purely because of our introduction of artificial intelligence and machine learning into the wireless and switching world here. Now, many may argue or debate that there are many other OEMs out there who have been in this leaders quadrant for many years, right? And we are just new in this last 2 years, we are the leaders, right? But you need to really look at where we were 2-3 years back and how we were able to come to this place in a very short span of time. I bet that I don't think any other vendor in the industry today has seen such a large transformation, especially in the Magic Quadrant here, right? If you see here, Juniper Networks and Mist were two different companies in 2018, where Juniper Networks was a niche player and Mist was a visionary. And if you see the latest quadrant, 2020, we are almost a leaders, and 2021, we are again a leaders with a huge lead against all our vendors, even within the leaders quadrant, right? So that's a key thing here, where the time it taken for us to move from the niche or visionary all the way to the leaders was very fast, and all this is because of the AI driven enterprise. The other important aspect that has been helping us to position our products to most of our enterprise and service customers was one thing, which is the single operating system of Junos. Junos is Juniper's operating system. Right from the inception of Juniper, when we introduced our first product in the industry, which is our MX routers, Junos was the OS which was into these routers. And then we got into the enterprise market, where we introduced the switching, where we developed our switching on our own and didn't acquire any company. And we ensured that the operating system again on this switching is the same Junos, which is powering these huge routers, which is the backbone for this entire internet world, right? Because you see most of the service providers backbone runs on Juniper, and 60 to 70% of the internet traffic would definitely hit a Juniper router. Now, it is the same operating system which is running on our other product portfolio, including our firewalls and switching, other than our routing portfolio here. Now, what is that advantages for a customer like you when you run a single operating system? First thing, when I say single operating system, it means it's a base image is a common image. On top of it, we add features which are specific to maybe security, or something specific to routing, or something specific to switching. But the base image is the same, which means the ability to add capabilities into these products is much faster, much agile. And it is one code which is pushed to all the boxes. If you see our release notes of Junos OS, a 20.x release will have a release note saying that these are the new features that are getting added in your switching, these are the new features that are getting added into your routing, and these are the new features which are getting added to your firewall, right? It is one code which is pushed to all the boxes. And automation really works across all the devices, whether it's an old device or a new device, whether it's a 12-port switch or even a largest of the routers like our PTX platforms. Now, why is it important? Because the new gen engineers who manage your networks, they don't like to work on the CLI these days. They prefer to interact with these devices using Ansible programming, Ansible or Python programming. They don't want to learn a CLI of a specific device OEM, and they want to work in that way. They want to create scripts, automate things, so that they want to be free, or they want to avoid these mundane tasks or a day-to-day repeated task which is monotonous for them. So automation if you're creating an automation pack for the Junos, that means you've created an automation pack for all our devices, which is our routing, switching, and security. Excuse me. It's a single operating system for you to learn. Excuse me. So as a customer, you have to just learn one single operating system, which means you don't have to spend time to learn an operating system for firewall. Similarly, another operating system for my core switch, for my data center switch, or even for my access switch. And the time taken to deploy has reduced a lot here, because a lot of companies go on for a certification process where they want to ensure that whatever operating system that they are running in their network are well certified, tested, and validated. Now, if I have multiple operating systems, one for security, one for routing, one for switching, that means my testing and validation time is also going to be much higher, right? But in this case, since it's one Junos operating system, my testing and validation time reduces a lot. So it's much faster to deploy in your production network here. Moving on, now we saw how AI is helping us. We saw a glimpse of what it can do. We also saw our Junos operating system. Now, how do we combine these together to simplify our operations today? Right. In the Junos world, when you talk about the Junos as an OS, since we initially started with the service provider routers, in a service provider environment, it's not easy to get an outage window first. Second, if there's an outage, it means that it's a lot of money now at that time, right? Now even enterprise, it's working like that. Even a small outage, it's like you're losing so much money. So since we started from that service provider router, we ensured that the operating system that we build needs to give more flexibility to the engineers who operate that, right? One is knowing the CLI, getting to know the syntax and stuff like that. But how do we give more power to the network operators who configure these devices? Let's take an example where uh, some of the traditional network vendors who have been there for many years, even today, if you work on their devices, when you configure or when you apply a certain command, when you apply the command and you press enter, it's immediately applied. It just checks for the syntax and stuff like that, but it just applies, right? What if you are typed in something wrong, or what if you had accidentally typed some wrong IP address, right? And all this you're doing from a central NOC, which is remotely somewhere there, a few kilometers away from this branch office. You totally lose connectivity to this particular network, right? Now, what happens? It requires a truck roll. That means you need to send someone to this branch office to really put a console and get things back up. So these small things could be a smaller thing, but when when it really happens, uh, it really has a huge impact to your network. So with Junos, we thought about all these simple aspects, and we came out with various concepts called concepts like commit, confirm, and things like that, where when an engineer types in a command, he just has to ensure that after he types in, he checks those commands, obviously. And then there's something called commit. Only when he commits, all those commands that he typed are applied to the configuration. Now, many vendors have also got this capability, but still some are lagging behind. But this is something which has been there in our products all these years from the days we introduced our first product. Plus, it's available right from a 12-port switch all the way up to huge chassis-based devices here. Second, there are things like commit confirm, where I can commit this configuration only for a specific amount of time. This time could be 1 minute all the way to 365 days or more than that also, right? Now, how this helps me if I'm going to manage a remote device and I say commit confirmed and I say 5 minutes, that means even if I type in a wrong address or something, disabling a port, and I lose connectivity, in 5 minutes it's going to roll back to my previous configuration, so I get it back again, right? This is also helpful when I'm managing it from the cloud, right? From the cloud, if you're managing your devices which are in remote places, and from the cloud you just click on something and uh, it disables support or it changes the IP address, what happens? The switch does not have any communication to the cloud. That means the switch is isolated now. Now, even with our cloud to switch management, what we have done is this particular commit confirmed is there by default. That means if the switch loses connectivity to the cloud, it automatically knows that something is wrong and automatically it rolls back to the previous configuration. So these are very simple stuffs, but very key in providing more power to your network operators who manage your network today. Right? When it comes to AI ops, when we split this into multiple, day 0, day 1, and day 2 plus, there are various mechanisms involved in this. With respect to day 0, right from the planning and design, without even having your devices in your offices, you can actually design and configure everything, keep it ready. And once you have the devices onboarded, which is day 1, it's just connected and the devices reach out to the cloud, request for the configuration. The configuration is all pushed in here, depending on the site parameters, depending on the switch model, depending on the MAC address. There are so many parameters you can fix where you can set a predefined configuration so that you don't have to repeat the configuration. And for this switch model, this is the configuration. You can create some templates which makes your life much easier. Now, once that is deployed, your site is up and running, which used to take few days earlier without this kind of AI based management. Today it takes few hours only. And then there's a day 2 plus operations where we need to really monitor what is happening in your network. Now this is where AI driven enterprise shines against many of our other vendors, where we have auto remediation. There is an AI driven support available. There's something called Marvis Actions, that is your virtual network assistant, which helps you to interact with your system to, as if there is another engineer from Juniper directly available to you, where you can talk to them and type in a question and it responds to you, what is happening to my network, why is this Bob's video failing, and it gives you, it pinpoints the actual issue where the exact issue is, right? And then finally, your user experience, right? Because it's all about user experience, and experience is the new uptime. When if you are able to measure this experience, that means we are able to understand what is happening in your network. And we have this user experience based SLEs, which I'll showcase in the demonstration followed by this presentation. So if you look in a nutshell, it's all about intent-based networking, right? Where from the cloud, what we do is first we describe the what. That means what should be your core switch, what should be my access switch, what should be my configuration, what should be my VLAN, which are the networks I need to have. All these are described in your management portal, and once it is all kept ready, once you plug in these switches, the switch immediately pulls a respective configuration from the cloud. And once it does, your entire switch configuration is pushed and the switch is up and running. Within few hours, you can make your networks up. And once this is done, then it's about whether everything is working fine as expected. The closed loop automation and assurance is what the AI is doing here, where it understands this is my current state and this is my expected state, and understands that there are certain things which are not right. That's where it does an anomaly detection. It does a correlation between wireless, wired, WAN, and it takes a decision on this is something wrong. There is a missing VLAN here. There is a bad cable here. There is an STP loop here. Before even a user could come and complain to the IT team, we are able to predict, or we are able to understand where the issue would be and exactly pinpoint how to solve this issue, right? Now, this is what will really improve user experience, but in a way it is also improving the operator's experience, because when a user comes and complains, the operator's experience is also hit badly in the traditional networks, because we don't know where exactly the issue is. Could be a wireless, could be wired, could be a WAN router issue, right? As we saw in the previous scenario. Now, operators also has a clear view of what is really happening in the network now. Now just look at how we onboard our devices, which will show you how simple it is to onboard our devices. This is just a single device. Once it gets shipped, you unbox them, and then just like you scan your QR codes, right, to make your Google Pay payments, Phone Pay payments, just like that. This is as simple as that. You just have to take your mobile. Obviously, by the time you would have received your device, you would have already created your logins in the Mist dashboard, Juniper Mist dashboard, and you will have an organization. Like if Juniper is an organization, I would have created a organization in the portal or a site in that, where I will just scan this QR. The moment I scan, it directs me to the page where I just have to log in into with my credentials. It automatically puts this specific device into that particular organization. Now, when I log into my portal, I would see that this particular device is already added. It is just added with the basic connectivity, which means it does not have all the full configuration. It is just connected to the cloud. Right now, after this, you can apply the templates. Like for example, if it is a Juniper Chennai office, I will have a template saying that for Chennai office, access should have this configuration, core should have this configuration, and if it is a wireless access point, these are the SSIDs, these are the VLANs. It is all pre-built, or we have already created that. So we just need to apply those templates to these onboarded switches here. Now, if it is going to be a more number of switches, it's just about giving an activation code, and that activation code will bring in all your switches into one site or multiple sites depending on your site allocation. So you're adopting the switch is much easier now, where you just have to switch on the device, connect the Ethernet cable. It just looks for there's something called phone home client in the devices. It just keeps searching for a way to reach out to internet, and then it gets connected to the cloud, and it's much easier. All this happens within a matter of minutes, where you onboard, and once you have the templates available, it's just pushed onto the configuration. Right? This gives you a holistic view of our complete AI driven portfolio, right from our wireless infrastructure. If you see here, the only hardware that you see in the wireless infrastructure is your access points, right? Because we do provide various solutions apart from the wireless, which is your asset tracking, your user engagement. Engagement is something like you're engaging the user by providing some proximity messaging and stuff like that, where when you go near a specific area, automatically it pushes a message. Just like when you go in a shopping mall and we go to a specific coffee shop, you get a push message saying that there's an offer going on in this coffee shop, right? Something like that. So there are various use cases that we can deploy using our wireless, because wireless infrastructure today is not just about connecting your users to the internet. There are various other use cases which you can think of the wireless networks, right? Now, if you see, the only hardware that is involved here is the access point here, which means that all the other functionalities we are able to do from our cloud, because all the other services we can run from our cloud. We don't need a costly sensors, some boxes sitting in your premises. We don't need any BLE tags to be stuck on your walls. We have technologies available where using our access points itself and with the cloud, we can provide all these capabilities, which makes much more simpler. The other thing is the wired infrastructure, which is our switching portfolio. Again, this can work without Mist also, because that's how it was working before. But the moment you add AI driven portfolio or the AI driven management onto it, it becomes much more easier to manage these devices, right? So you still have a console access to these switches, or you can still completely manage them from the cloud, where the cloud will provide you the AI driven approach of service level expectations, what is really happening in your network, root cause analysis, and things like that. And then finally, we have also included the WAN infrastructure in this, where SRX is our secure router portfolio, which provides all your secure routing capabilities. And we have also included Session Smart Routers. This is a company which we acquired uh, a year back, where it's 128 Technologies, which is now named as Session Smart Routers. And this is a unique solution in the industry, especially in the SD-WAN industry, where we provide a tunnel-less SD-WAN solution, which no other vendor today provides. It's a tunnel-less session-based solution, which is much scalable, and many customers appreciate the way it operates, because it's completely different and it's very disruptive even in the SD-WAN market. Now, combining Session Smart Routers with the AI adds more value because we are now able to collate the information from the SD-WAN also and provide meaningful information for your operators to take an action on that. With that, let me move on to the demonstration now. I'm just opening my browser. I hope it is visible. If someone can confirm if the browser is visible.
We can see the screen.
Thank you. Sure. So this is my it's a demonstration portal, but this is how your live production network will also look like, right? So this is the Mist dashboard or the portal, and you can clearly see that you have the wireless, you have the wired, you have the WAN. So all this in one dashboard. Today, we are the only vendors who can provide wired, wireless, and WAN in a single dashboard, which is AI driven, which is completely AI driven and not just patching different solutions together. This is a single dashboard which is completely managed together, where an AI algorithm is running at the back end with the machine learning here. Now, as I said, the first and foremost priority for us is to measure the user's experiences. But how do we measure a user's experience? Now, if I look at the wireless, when I go into the wireless network, generally any management tool, if you see, the first thing that will show is the status of the device, whether it's up and running or not, green light, orange light, red light, whether the device is up or not, whether those kind of things would be there. But here it is completely different. Here we are talking about a user's experience. Now, how do I measure the user's experience? Using something called service levels. We call it as service level expectations. Now, in a wireless world, how do you measure a user experience? You should be able to connect much faster. So we have something called time to connect. You should be able to successfully connect, right? If he's not able to connect, that means his user experience is bad. Whether he is getting the right coverage wherever he goes. Is he able to roam within few seconds or less than a second? Is he getting the right bandwidth throughput on his devices? Is there a good amount of wireless capacity, and is the APs are all up? These are the ways we measure your entire site information and give you what your users are going through. This is for my entire site, and in my entire site I see the user experience here. You can see the successful connects is 25%. That means this is really bad user experience. This is a demonstration site, so we try to simulate some bad and good user experience. But if you see any of your production sites, you will see most of them would be green, and even if it is orange, we can take either a proactive measure or system certain aspects system itself can do on its own, like an RRM and stuff like that. With system can itself do a course correction and make sure that is resolved automatically, right? Now, similarly for wired, we also have service level expectations here. Like if a user experience is bad, it could be because of throughput, it could be because he's not able to connect at all, or it could be because of the switch health, right? So like that, we also have service level expectations for our WAN routers, the gateway's health, the WAN link's health, right? And also the application specific health, like whether a specific application is going through any jitter, latency, or delay in this, right? So let me go back to wireless so that I can explain you with an example here. Now here, if you see here, the time to connect is 86% successful. That means 14% of the people were not able to connect in a much faster way. Now, you might ask, what is the benchmark that you're keeping? How are you saying it's successful or it's not successful? You can set these values here. Now here we have set a value of 3 seconds. It should not take more than 3 seconds for some user to connect to my Wi-Fi network. If it takes more than 3, that means uh, his user experience is impacted here, right? Now you can set these values on your own, or you can let the artificial intelligence to learn your network day by day using the machine learning algorithms, and then set up value automatically here, right? Now you can clearly say this is not good enough, and especially successful connects is really bad here in this demonstration website. Now the next thing that you might ask is, okay, what is really causing this issue? Now you said that 86% of the people were not able to connect to my wireless within 3 seconds. Why? Right? Just giving you some information here is not good enough. Now we need to really tell you why it is happening. Now this is where the artificial intelligence plays a major role here to identify the root cause of the issue. Now, the 14% of the people were not able to connect within 3 seconds because among that 14%, many of them, that is almost 85% of them, had an association issue. Some of them had DHCP issue, right? Now, this itself gives you a lot of information just within few minutes of logging into this dashboard. Now I'm directly into the first page and I found that something is not wrong. Successful connects is 25%. Why? Majority of them because of authorization. Maybe some client is not getting authorized, it's failing continuously, right? Now you can go deep into this and see clear statistics of what is happening. Now out of 44, 11 people are affected. What is the timeline it got affected? At what time? And what is the distribution? Is it across all operating system? Is it across a specific access points? Is it across a specific wireless LAN device? Is it across that is an SSIDs? Is it across a specific device only? Is it only a MacBook or is it an a Windows machine? Is it happening across 5 gigahertz or 2 gigahertz? This is with respect to wireless. Similarly, wired also you have various measures, right? And you also want. Now, this gives you a complete list of the affected people, the users, the access points, the applications here, right? Now, the visibility that we get out of this is humongous because we get a lot of data. We almost track 150 states in wireless. Similarly, in wired network, we have various other states that we measure, right? Now, when we get into this, let's say this particular user, if I just go detailed into this specific user, you can see a very good summary of what is really happening with this user. The time to connect, this user, the client was slow to connect 91% of the attempts, primarily due to slow association. And this is also telling me that this is a client specific issue and not a site specific issue, which is very key here. That means I need to focus on this specific client rather than digging into everything with respect to my whole site here, right? And it also says which particular access point, which particular SSIDs, right? It also gives me various other issues that is felt by this client, right? All these are something without even a client coming to me or an IT operator and saying that I'm going through some bad experience. We are able to identify these things without them even informing us. And even if someone informs us, this helps us to reduce that mean time to innocence, to really find out whether it's a wired issue or a wireless issue or a WAN issue here. Now the best part here, now I go to a much more detailed inside view of this particular client. Now this shows me where exactly this client is in this particular office. I can identify or locate where the exact client is. It has all the data which even other vendors provide. But the most interesting fact is it has all the logs. Let's say a client comes to me and says, I had an authorization, I had some issue on a specific day, let's say February 18th or February 17th or whatever date it is, at this specific time. I can go back in time, look at these events, right? Typically, events are available for a certain amount of days with any vendor solution. But the best part about this event is that it gives me all the data about this event in a much uh, easily readable way. Plus, it also gives me a way to download the packet captures, which means that a dynamic packet capture has been already done in this network for this particular client issue. When this client issue triggered, it immediately triggered a packet capture on its own, where it captured all the metadata, and those packet captures are kept for you. That means you can now go back, download this packet capture and put it in any Ethereal or any kind of Wireshark tools and analyze what really happened at that particular time. This helps us, our TAG team, as well as it also helps our customers who are well versed with the packet capture analysis to easily identify what really happened. Think of a scenario where you're roaming around one AP to another AP and you suddenly face an issue, but you didn't complain about that issue at that particular moment. But later, after 7 days, you go and complain to the IT person, IT head or IT team. Now the IT team will ask, when did it happen, and they will just have some few logs which will not help them identify what really the issue is. Now the thing what they ask you to do is they again ask you to or hand over your laptop or a device, or using our own device, the IT operators just walk down from one AP to another to really find out what really happened. Sometimes you may be able to replicate the issue, sometimes you may not be able to. Especially in wireless world, it happens a lot. Now this dynamic packet capture is a savior for the IT operators, because when the issue has happened, it automatically triggers, especially a bad event happens, it automatically triggers a packet capture. It is not capturing your payload or the actual data, but it's just the metadata it captures, and it helps you to identify, resolve the issue in a much faster way. This has really helped a lot of our customers. A lot of our customer testimonials are available in our website, where you would really see that these have really saved a lot of time to identify the root cause of the issue, which used to take days, sometimes even months, to really identify what the issue could be here, right? So that's the power of artificial intelligence here. I showed you about the wireless part of it. Similarly, in the wireless, we do have various SLEs where you can identify specific site-related issues. Now, this is a floor map with all the switches, where it can give you the switch AP affinity, all right? How many APs to the switch should be there? You can set a value here. And if it goes beyond, in this case, we have set a value of 12. If it goes beyond 12, it immediately shows an orange. And if it goes much further down, less or more, if it goes more APs per switch, it goes red, because I don't want to have all my APs connected to the specific switch, because if the switch goes down, that means my entire coverage goes down. So you can create those kind of rules here. The PoE compliance, whether the switch is able to provide the right amount of PoE for all the connected device, whether there are any VLANs that are missing. Like, this will help me identify the VLAN on the wireless, is it configured on my wired switch also, right? This means that the VLANs which are active on wireless is not active on the switch. That means I'm missing certain VLANs here, right? There are so much of insights that the AI can provide us with this AI driven enterprise solution here. Similarly, for gateways, we do have uh, various SLEs where you'll be able to identify the root cause of the issues here. And finally, one important thing which is very, very impressive, and a lot of our customers really love to have this capability, which is, as I mentioned, it's a Marvis virtual assistant. It's like having your Juniper engineer just sitting next to you, and you ask them what is really happening in my network, right? So a Juniper expert always next to you, right? Now, this is a dashboard. The first thing is a dashboard, which really gives you a view of what is happening in your network. Now, what this 30 means is there are 30 events that have happened, where you need to really look into it, because those are user impacting events. If you look at our switch, there are 6 events. It says missing VLANs. Today, I don't think any vendor here will be able to tell you whether you missed to configure a VLAN in your switch, which was there in the wireless, right? You can identify that up to even the port level, port number. You can see here, this is a particular switch where it says 2 APs are missing VLANs, and it tells me where exactly, which particular VLANs, and what are the missing VLANs, and which exact port we are missing here. That's the power of AI here. We can identify the bad cables. We can identify a port flap which is happening. With respect to access points, we can identify the coverage hole in the access points. And if there's an insufficient capacity, we can identify those and uh, give it as a present to you in this format, so you can take a corrective action based on that, right? Now, this is one way to look at your day-to-day network in a holistic view. But there's another easier way, where as I said, this is like a Juniper engineer who's sitting next to you to answer your question, right? So you can simply ask questions like, how is my live demo site? Live demo is the name of the site here, right? It's asking, uh, it didn't understand my question, so it'll help me, or it'll ask further questions to really understand what I'm exactly asking. It asks, live demo means live hyphen demo, or which one is it? So this is the site I'm just giving. Now, if you see, this is my plain natural language which I used, a normal English language, using a natural language, right? Now it converts that into a query language here. Troubleshoot live demo during today, right? I can simply write it as 7 days and things like that, and this will change to 7 days here, right? So I can see that in my site everything looks fine overall site wide, but still I feel that there are some issues with respect to association and authorization, which I need to check, right? I can again investigate further from here, and I can again, it will take me to the same service levels which we saw before, the same screens, the various classifiers, right? This huge amount of data, but in a much easily consumable form. That is a very important thing here, right? So we can ask how many unhappy clients, because I would like to know, the clients who are not really happy, who are going through a bad state in my network. You see that there are clients who are still unhappy. That means they're not able to connect, or they're not getting the right coverage, or could be anything here, right? So if you see here, there's a particular line, I can go in depth and I can find, search by the MAC, search by the access point, right? So there are various ways it takes you there. And another way to interact with this is the conversational interface, right? I can just say locate Denali. I just want to know where this particular client is. I just click on this. It is a context. You can see the context changing at the background, right? Where all the information related to Denali is already displayed here while you're chatting here, right? You can use the same questions what I used here there previously, and this is all natural language, like it's the where you can ask any kind of questions, and the system will respond to you. If it does not understand, it tries to learn that every day. It learns your network, it learns the questions that you ask, and we try to improve this experience more and more as you ask more and more questions to it, right? So this is the virtual network assistant that we are talking about here. And this is not specific to wireless or wired or SD-WAN. It can actually provide you answers for the entire network. Your wireless, wired, SD-WAN could be anything. We can ask questions about that, right? And as I said, we can also provide certain other use cases which are beyond wireless, wired, and your SD-WAN, which is using our wireless. We can do location-based analytics, where you can do an asset tracking, you can do an engagement analysis on what is really happening in your floor space, how many users are getting, or how many users are there in a specific zone. Is it beyond the limited numbers? Because especially in this COVID scenarios, there are a lot of limitations with respect to how many people can be there in a specific zone. We do have solutions like contact tracing within your office area, where you can identify which user was in contact with which person at this particular time, right? That way, if we identify a COVID patient, we will be able to identify who are all the other people who are there in the same zones, who were there at the same time. All this information we will be able to retrieve. So this AI-driven enterprise to manage your wireless, wired, and your WAN and SD-WAN solution uh, provides you a lot of power to the network operators, where you can maintain the user experience, give them a richer experience to your end user. At the same time, the operator experience is also much seamless, because it's much easier. And even for someone who's completely new, they can use the Marvis virtual assistant to really just ask a question and identify what is the issue with a specific client or the network here, right? So with that, I just have one last slide where I really want to summarize on what we discussed now, and the reason why these large mission critical networks are moving to Juniper Mist is these four main fundamental pillars, right? One is the greater client level visibility. We are able to go up to the client level to understand the visibility, to understand what is really happening in the network, wireless, wired, and WAN and SD-WAN networks, which is helping us to measure the user experience. The AI-driven operation support, where with the natural language processing, with our virtual network assistant, something like how you ask your Alexa to play the favorite music. Like it's like that. You just ask or you just type in the questions in our AI chatbot or AI chat or AI chat interface where you can just ask the questions you want to know about your network. It's something revolutionary and really disrupted the market today. And the microservices, we spoke about this every alternate Wednesdays. We push new features, capabilities, new fixes without interrupting the production traffic. And finally, the digital engagement with our BLE capabilities, which are available in our wireless solutions, where today you're not seeing wireless as just a wireless connectivity to your network, but also we use the same wireless networks to do other use cases like your location tracking, contact tracing, and so many things. This is where virtual BLE, which is a patented technology of Juniper, plays a key role. And a lot of these customers who adopted Juniper Mist uh, are an evidence for that. We do have various testimonials from these customers in our websites. Please feel free to go through these testimonials to understand why Juniper AI-driven enterprise story had really helped them to adopt this particular technology here, right? And finally, it's 100% open API-driven architecture, which means that if you have your own tool, you will be able to integrate with our Mist dashboard, and you can extract information, use it for your uh, other tool. For maybe a ticketing system, could be a data mining system. You can use that, right? So thanks a lot for your time today. I hope this was an informative session. Uh, uh, that's all I had for today. Now we'll move on to the Q&A part of the session. Let me go through the Q&A and answer them one by one. Just give me a minute. I'm just opening up the Q&A part. Okay, we have a question. Will there be any disruption to the production network when there are updates or upgrades happening in the cloud? Yeah, as I said, this is based on microservices architecture, which means that whatever is happening in the cloud level, uh, it is completely transparent to the end user first. And since it's a microservices architecture, bringing up or bringing down a service in the cloud does not have any impact to the users who are there in the production. Could be because if it's going to impact, it's going to impact not just one customer, it's going to be a whole lot of customers who are under this cloud, right? So it will be a completely a non-disruptive, and that's why we are able to provide you new features every alternate Wednesdays, right? If it's going to be an outage for introducing new features, it cannot happen every alternate Wednesdays where you can ask your customers to, give some time for an outage window. This is a completely non-disruptive thing here. Next question is your AIDE cloud a subscription-based service? And what happens when the subscription fails? And if you fail to renew on time, in other vendor solutions, I've seen that the network goes down completely. It's a very good question because yes, it is a cloud-based, subscription-based solution. If you want to manage your wired, wireless, and your WAN and SD-WAN using your Mist cloud, your Mist AI-driven solution, right? So now it's a subscription-based to answer your first question. Now, with respect to second question, yes, obviously you need to renew your subscriptions, but at the same time, whatever devices that were running, that will continue to run, but you lose control to the dashboard which manages that. But it will not completely disrupt your network. For example, if you have a EX switching which is managed by our cloud network and you bought a subscription, but the subscription ends, the EX switches will continue to work for you. It will not completely stop working. So that's the answer for that. What other use cases that you see in the industry other than providing a standard network connectivity? Okay, so there are multiple use cases that we hear are, I see a lot of customers inquiries coming to us apart from the traditional networking stuff, right? About wireless, wired, and SD-WAN. use cases like I just mentioned about location tracking, contact tracing, especially in the with the back to office kind of programs happening in most of the companies. Customers prefer to have a secured environment. They want to ensure that only a specific number of employees are sitting in a specific zone, and they don't want to have more people sitting in a specific zone. They want to know where the employees were. If one of the employees is COVID positive, they want to understand who are all the other employees who are there with them in the specific zone, right? So contract tracing solutions is another use case, which is something we get a lot of inquiries, and we do demonstrate this to many customers today in this time. There are other use cases like user engagements, uh, asset tracking, especially in hospitals, or could be in industries where you want to have a asset being tracked. In the hospitals, it could be a movable instruments, medical instruments. In the logistics space or in a warehouse environment, it could be a it could be some other device which is movable device, and you want to track it, right? So in even movement of people is very something which people ask for, because let's say in a hospital there is a critical emergency situation, and you want to locate a specific a doctor who's the right guy for this, and you want to really track him where exactly he is, right? Even for that purposes, we do hear a lot of use cases around that. So anything around assets, anything around location as such, right? You have a lot of use cases around this. I would like to understand, the next question is, I would like to understand the kind of data Juniper need to collect for this analytics, and how about collected data security and privacy? Thanks for asking that question. It's a good question, because a lot of customers, before moving to cloud, they have this concern whether their data is secure and things like that. We do have a public documentation available on the security measures that we adopt, right? First of all your data that is being collected, there are some few state information that we collect from our access points, basically, and from our switches and our routers, right? These are state information. These are nothing to do with the data that you're actually sending. It's not the actual payload data that we collect. It's just the state information of these devices, right? And yeah, we can share some documentation around what kind of data. And with respect to security, data privacy and security, uh, we do have various mechanisms, because we do have our cloud instance in US, and we also have in Europe, where we go by this GDPR compliance. We are complying to GDPR also. So we do have all the security measures there, right from the way to encrypt the data that is passed on from your access points, from your switches, all the way to the cloud. And even within the cloud, how do we secure, right? We have a detailed documentation which can be shared to you, which can be shared with your security team also, if they have their own doubts on how secure our network environments are, right? But as you see, more and more people are going towards a cloud, and it has become a de facto standard to provide these security and privacy as a first thing in order to meet customers' requirement. The next question, what are the ways it helps to identify anomalies of requests coming in from malicious devices? So there are two ways to look at these anomalies. One is with respect to the wireless wired related anomaly. When I say anomaly, there is a standard behavior of how your networks work, and suddenly we see something going down. That is an anomaly, right? That can be identified by our AI algorithm, and it put forwards in the SLEs, that service level expectations, which I shown you, and identify as there's some anomaly. I suddenly see that this particular client is suddenly sending too much of traffic, or this particular AP's coverage, which used to be this much, suddenly going down. These are kind of anomalies. This is one kind of anomalies which AI can easily identify using the machine learning algorithm, right? Or even a Wi-Fi interference and things like that. Now, the other kind of anomaly is the security anomaly, right? Which which I understand from this question, Mr. Manish is referring to the security related anomalies. We do have our connected security. If you had seen my first or the second slide, it would have mentioned about a line called connected security. What we have done is we're also a security vendor where we have our own threat labs which look for anomalies out there, and we have tie-ups with various other security organizations. Now we do have our firewalls, we do have our solutions, but our firewalls need not work in silos where anything going out and coming in is only monitored here. We have a solution called connected security where we can provide the intelligence of this threat intelligence even to our wireless networks. So this cloud is interconnected where we will be able to feed the information of our threat labs to our Mist cloud also, where the Mist cloud can push this information to our Mist access points or even our switches or even our WAN routers. Think of a scenario where one of your hosts is infected. Now the firewall has identified that this host is trying to send it to a command and control center. Immediately what happens is that the firewall understands that this is an anomaly and it blocks. But still, this user is sitting inside your campus network and he can laterally spread this out, right? Now, when the information about this infected host is received on the firewall or in our cloud, the cloud also transfers this information to our Mist cloud also. That means this information is fed into the Mist cloud and it is fed into the access points and the switches. That way, even at the switch level or even at the AP level, we'll be able to identify that he's an infected host. We know his MAC address. We can put him, we can simply put some filters. All these are dynamic. Whatever I'm talking about is a dynamic thing where it automatically puts a filter and throws him out of the network. Only when he remediates, he can come back into the network. So we can do that. And this is one of the unique solutions that we have, which is called connected security, which can provide your switching, your wireless as an enforcement point apart from your firewall here. Now let me go to the next question. And I just wanted to have a quick time check. How many questions can we take? I do see a lot of questions coming in.
Another 3 to 4, and then we'll connect one-to-one with the audience later on.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. The next question: will this AI solution work when there is a mix and match of devices in the network across OEMs? Unfortunately, today it's Juniper's access points, Juniper switches, and Juniper's SRX and SSR. These are the only devices which can work with our AI-based solution. We do have very limited capabilities on third-party switches where we can understand the LLDP messages from these switches and get some basic information on, in the demo I showed you one screen about, how many APs to switches Affinity should have. What about the PoE wattage, whether we have enough PoE wattage or not. Those kind of information, it's possible with the third-party switches also using the LLDP because it's a standard protocol. But apart from this, this AI-driven enterprise solution is fully focused on Juniper access point, Juniper switching, and routing and firewall environments. Next question: are these devices available with AWS, Azure, or GCP? Okay, Mist Cloud solution is not something where we provide you some component which you can deploy in your own clouds. This is kind of a SaaS solution, SaaS for a management, you can say, right? Where we provide you the management using the cloud portal, where this portal is completely owned by us, where we will provide you the login credentials, your site-specific login credentials you can create on your own, and you manage it completely. It's not like a managed services or something like that. We give you the portal, we give you the intelligence technology, and using that, you just onboard your switch and you manage your own network. There are also many MSPs who are there who provide these solutions as a managed services using Mist also. That is also one option which is available there, where you will be interacting with those MSPs as a managed services where you don't have to do anything. You just give them your requirement of how many devices that are need to be there in your requirement, and they will deploy products on behalf of you and manage them, right? That is one model. But the model which is widely adopted in India, where people buy these devices and they also buy the subscriptions, which is owned by Juniper, and we provide you the portal access to manage your own devices to onboard those devices. So one last question, is it private cloud of Juniper? So this is available as a public cloud only. So obviously, in order to manage your devices, we need to have a reachability to the internet, because this is on the public cloud of Juniper, right? At the back end, we have tie-up with the public cloud vendor, one of the largest vendor in the globe. But this is a public cloud where you need to have internet connectivity in order for the devices to send those information, and this is done in a much secure way using the HTTPS, the secure way of transporting your information. And we have if you just search for MIST security, you'll be able to find a document in Google which talks about how we secure this client to cloud communication across. I think it's better that we
that's it.
connect. Yeah,
Yeah. So
we
we have
can connect
noted
one-to-one.
down the questions. Yeah, we will send you the responses one-to-one, everybody.
Okay. So with that, let me invite Sudhakar to conclude this session. Sudhakar, if you're there.
Yes, I'm there, sir. Yeah. So I would like to thank everyone at this, this crucial period where everyone has joined and we are running through a different phase. I would like to thank one and all, whoever has joined, and then we will actually go ahead and talk to each other separately. Sir, I will ping separately on the number also, if there is there. We can give the number, and then please contact me on any kind of inquiries or any kind of requirements which you have. We will take it forward. Yeah. Thank you, one and all. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a
Over
lot.
to
Yeah.
Thank you all the audience and panelists. We'll be closing the webinar now. Thank you, everyone.